Wow. If you want one, few environmental products. I want a bracelet. One over there. I'll see if they have some. Okay. So what do you what art?
Well, I'm an urban sketcher, so I sketch, when I travel, I sketch all of the ideas and I'm here in Montreal, but I'm staying in Sanibel for a week. So I'm doing a
thanks.
for Myers artists. Yeah. Oh.
How are you guys? Good. When you get here, last night. Nice.
Yes, me too.
Shari Blaukopf. Basically, my dog. Oh,
Jennifer, 1 minute.
Let me grab them.
Yeah, I'll do the intro, and when you guys are sitting down, we'll be good to go. I got all your pictures loaded up, so we'll be able to pull them up and go through them and talk
okay, great.
about
So
them.
you don't need anything from me today, right? Like,
No, just we're going to sit here, we're going to chat, and you're going to educate me on art.
Okay, come on in. Just hang out at the bar. Okay.
I'll leave the chairs on this side next week.
Yeah, good idea. I like that idea.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode number 193 of Beach Talk Radio, coming to you live from Beach Timeout. As you can see, my trusty sidekick is not here today. She's on vacation, but we have a great show lined up for you. And as always, before we get rolling, I want to tell you about all the great sponsors that make this show and the newsletter and the website possible, including Best Western, where we were last night, broadcasting live, Fort Myers Tiki Tours, Nervous Nellies, Margaritas, Sanibel Carts, State Insurance USA, Sun Palace Vacations, Waola Restaurant, Tuckaway Cafe, Blue Ribbon Events, Beach Pottery, Shuckers, the Farmers Market at the Beach Baptist Church, and of course, Beach Time Out. Later in the show, we have 2 tickets to go away from the Beach Theater with our movie trivia question. We have Judge Hugh Starnes coming up at about 9:30 to talk about the Rittenhouse case and redistricting in Lee County and so much more. And right now, I'm going to introduce Jennifer Rusk real quick from the Marine Resources Task Force Committee, because we have a special presentation that we're going to make to somebody here. Jennifer, thank you for coming on and bringing in our guest for this morning. Come on down. All right, folks, this is 7-year-old Bodie, and I am not even going to try and say your last name. Come on in, Mom. I think Bodie will feel a little more comfortable. Jennifer, talking to the microphone and tell everybody what we have going on here.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Rusk. I'm on the Marine Resource Task Force. It's an advisory committee to the Town Council of Fort Myers Beach. And every month we meet, and if some of the members are out and about in the town and we see somebody that's being a good stewardship of the island, we'll stop, introduce ourselves, and we nominate them for a Murphy Award. This month, we actually have Bodie, and he won the Murphy Award for good stewardship of the island. You can see it on the Observer in this week's edition. We'd just like to thank you on behalf of the town of Fort Myers Beach, and we wanted to present you with some cool stuff.
Jennifer, hold on. I think I had a little bit of an issue with the microphone, so we're gonna start over.
Okay.
With you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Rusk. I'm on the Marine Resource Task Force of Fort Myers Beach. We're an advisory committee board to the town council of Fort Myers Beach. Every month, we give nominate an award called the Murphy Award. And it's when we see someone doing good stewardship for the island of Estero Island, we will nominate them and present them an award. And you, my dear Bodie, were good stewardship for the Murphy Award this month. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Bodie, before she gives you all of your gifts, so you're 7 years old, right?
Yep.
So what is that, second grade?
Yeah.
So what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be.
It's just kind of early. I mean, you still have some time to think about it, but
Biologist.
a marine biologist. Now, how did you come up with marine biologist? I mean, you're only 7 years old. How did you think of that?
Because I like sea creatures.
Yeah, like dolphins and
Yeah.
manatees.
Mhm.
So, Bodie, what is the deal with the manatees? I mean, why are they dying?
Because they're endangered.
Yeah.
species.
Oh, I think they should be declared extinct, or what's the right terminology there?
They're a threatened species,
yeah.
and if it's actually water quality. So hopefully
Yeah.
we're fixing that.
What do you want to do about the water quality?
I want to save the creatures.
Yeah. What else? What other kind of? Have you ever gone fishing and what do you like to fish for?
I like to fish for sunfish.
Yeah, sunfish. How big do they get?
They're maybe 1 foot.
1 foot? Well, that's pretty big. When you catch the sunfish, do you eat them?
No.
No. Do you fish with a bobber or with a lure or hook or?
A bobber.
Oh, I'm going fishing with you, Bodie, because I love fishing with a bobber. That's the coolest way. You know why? Because when you see that bobber go underwater, it's super exciting, right? Because you know something's on the other end.
Yeah.
Like, what do you use for bait to catch a sunfish?
Fake worms.
Fake. Well, where do you get fake worms? At the tackle shop?
Yeah.
How come you don't use real worms?
Because where I go camping, I can't really find that much worm.
I see. Where do you go camping?
In New York.
New York? What part of New York? Upstate, or your mom's coaching a little bit there? Oh wow, that's way up there, eh? Yeah, up in the cold part of New York. So, can I talk to your mom for a second? Because I have a question for your mom, and I know I've done a little research. Usually, my wife does all the research. Jody is with us, and Jody, I was told that you own Orange Theory fitness centers.
Yes, absolutely.
What's that all about?
Central Massachusetts, heart rate based interval training.
Yes, we have a few down here. It's a great way to get in shape. So, how many franchises do you own up there?
I own 2. I recently sold one, so
Nice.
I've got one left, and they were actually started in Florida. On the other coast is where they began as a franchise.
Nice.
Yep, global brand, about 1,500 studios around the planet.
Now, why did you sell it?
I wanted to focus on one.
I see.
Yep. With
I
everything
see.
happening over the last couple of years, I wanted to give somebody else an opportunity, and I kept one, and we're focusing on that one.
I love Orange Theory. We have one that's amazingly right next to Around the Clock Fitness. That for some reason they put them all close together, and it's like a 30-minute workout, right? Or 40.
1 hour.
It's a 1 hour.
1 hour
it's 30
full body
minutes
workout.
of cardio, and then weights, and you're switching back and forth. And
Yep.
So that's,
Endurance, strength, and power.
why don't you just open one down here?
No more licenses available down here.
No kidding.
No, we actually live down here. We moved to Massachusetts to open
I
the
see.
studios up there because there was an opportunity up there.
So you must be very proud of Bodie for, what was the award again?
It was the Murph Award
Yes.
for his environmental stewardship. He was a sea turtle this year for Halloween
I see.
because and Jen Rusk has had a huge impact on his love for turtles. During the pandemic, when we were doing our remote learning down here, Jen took the kids, taught them a lot about what's going on with the sea turtles,
Right.
and all she does to help save them here on the beach.
Right. Now, Bodie, are you in favor of amber lights or white lights? Don't worry about that. Lights are lights, right? You don't get
Amber
into the-
lights when it comes to the turtles, right?
Right, right. Now, so they dressed you up. Did you want to get dressed up like a sea turtle, or did the adults make you dress up like a sea turtle? Because my wife made my daughter dress up like a grape for Halloween one year, and that was total torture.
I wanted to
Oh, you
dress
wanted to be a sea turtle. And there's a picture of you in the Observer, right? So people can go and check out the Observer and see a picture of you. Did you put face paint on and the whole thing? And
No.
no,
We didn't
So-
need to because his skin was kind of the color of
a
the
sea turtle.
sea turtles.
Have you ever
Exactly.
seen one of those turtles up close?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, right? Anything else you want to talk about while you're here? Like, how are your grades in school? Good?
Very good. We just
Yeah.
had parent-teacher conferences. We did a virtual
Yeah.
parent-teacher conference while we were down there. All A's.
Now, up in New England, are they dragging people out of the school board meetings like they are down here for yelling and screaming about the
No.
masks and all that?
Everything's going
yeah.
great up
It
there.
gets crazy down here at the
Yeah.
school board meetings. I don't know if you've seen that. Do you like school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you getting really good grades?
Yeah.
What's your favorite subject?
Math.
Why is it math?
Because I like adding and subtracting.
Cool. All right. Adding and subtracting is. What is your next favorite subject?
Art.
Art. Okay. Well, we're gonna have a watercolorist on the show next. Yeah. Look at your eyes. We're lighting up about that. Do you like to watercolor?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I have no idea what that is, so I'm gonna get educated today. Do you have a girlfriend?
No.
Okay, good. You know, you want to wait till you're like 21 before you have a girlfriend because you got to focus on your, your biology stuff, right? At what grade are you allowed to take biology? Do you know? Yeah.
Probably 8th grade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eighth grade.
Couple more years.
I don't mean to ask you complicated questions, but I have to ask a few because if my wife was here, she'd be asking you the tough questions. I like to ask the easy questions, but I do have a gift for you. It matches your shirt. How about a hat for
Thank
you? You're
What do
welcome.
you say?
I know you have a sister, so we got to be fair. So that hat's for your sister. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Jody and Bodie.
Thank you for having
Does
us.
your entire family, their names rhyme like that?
No,
Jody and Bodie?
just us. Just us.
Just
We
you.
have Scott and Charlie.
Scott and Charlie. Oh, Jennifer's back because Jennifer has a little presentation, and then Sherry's going to come on.
Okay, Bodie. So, on behalf of Fort Myers Beach Marine Resource Task Force, we gave you a little shell bag with a bracelet. This is Turtle Time bracelet, some crayons, a postcard you can send to your friend, and then this is an aquatic preserves are exceptional and Florida Coastal Office activity book that you can take to your teacher and have them share with your other friends at school. And also, I would like to say, for anybody with children, you can come by the environmental pop-up booth. It's a Marine Resource Task Force booth here in Times Square on Saturday mornings from 9 to 12. Come get bracelets, postcards, coloring books, activity books, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming on.
To your dad, okay?
Thank you. Thank you very
you.
much, Bodie.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you very much. And if you guys have any pictures that you took and you can send them to us, that would be great. Jody, thank you. Congratulations on Orange Theory. I love working out there. And thank you to your family. And I think I met your father-in-law. I love him. He handed me I thought he was joking around. He handed me his card. I said, I want you to have my card. And that's what it said on it. So I thought he was joking, but it is a funny joke. And then it has all the information on there. So thanks for coming down and congratulations, Bodie. I'll see you in school. Thank you, Jody. Thank you. She almost broke my arm. She's so strong. All right, everybody, before we get to Shari's coming over now. Shari, come on down. I wanted to tell everybody that if you're going to the Fort Myers Library book sale, this is the bag that you are allowed to put all the books and the CDs. It's one price. Come on down, Shari. That's your microphone there. Yeah, and That is the bag. You can fill that bag up with books and with CDs and with anything that you want. It's one price. I can't remember the price. I think it's $15. I might be getting it wrong, but you can fill that up all the way to the top. It's at the Fort Myers Beach Library, and the time is 9 to 2 today and 9 to 2 tomorrow. So, Shari, I am not even going to try and say your last name because I butcher it, but thank you for coming on.
Blaukopf.
And our camera's here, and Shari is going to be doing a demonstration tomorrow about the watercolor art.
Right.
So you're from Canada.
I'm from Montreal.
Is that close to Canada?
That's close to Canada.
Yeah.
That's right in Canada.
And now, when did they start allowing the Canadians to come back in?
No, November 8th by car.
By car.
Yeah, so we left on the 11th. We were not one of the first, but many Canadians came down.
Did you try and sneak down before that?
Well, we could fly.
You could fly.
Yeah, we could fly.
So how did they stop you? How would they stop you if you were trying to drive? They
would
by
stop
showing
you.
your passport.
It was just non-essential travel only.
I
So
see.
if you didn't have a good reason to come down, you just couldn't get down.
Got you.
Yeah.
Now, the reason you're here is because of the demonstration, which will be at the Fort Myers Beach Art Association tomorrow from
1 to 2.
1 o'clock to 2. And what is the demonstration going to be about?
I'm an urban sketcher, so
Explain what that is. 'Cause
Yes.
we've got people from
Yes.
Michigan that are
Yes.
low on the
Yes.
IQ scale,
Yes.
like Brad. He knows who I'm talking about, Chad.
So
I have no idea what that is, so I fit right in there. So what does that urban sketcher
Urban
mean?
Sketchers is a worldwide organization of people who sketch on location. So we take our sketchbooks and we draw wherever we are. If I wasn't in this interview today, I'd be sitting out there with a coffee and I'd be drawing all this stuff around me. So
I see.
It was started by a man named Gabby Campanario, who's originally from Spain but lives in Seattle, and he started sketching and he started finding other people who were sketching on location, and he started a Flickr group and a blog, and eventually it became a worldwide movement with thousands and thousands of people from all over the world who sketch. We just take our sketchbooks everywhere, and there's a reportage element too. There's a lot of people who sketch. Reportage.
What does that mean?
It means people take their sketchbooks on location and they'll draw, for example, political events, protests, all kinds of stuff, marches, or just document the world around them with their sketchbooks.
So what was the first one you ever sketched?
I've been drawing all my life, but when I discovered Urban Sketchers about 10 years ago, I just started carrying my sketchbook with me everywhere in Montreal. So I was teaching at the time in a college, and I would draw my students. I would draw from my car. I draw from my car all the time in Montreal because it's cold. So I just draw scenes. I'll draw people. I'll go to markets and draw. I'll draw a lot. A big component is also travel sketching. So a lot of us sketch on location when we're traveling. And instead of taking photos, we document our travels through our sketches.
Did you ever sketch Guy Lafleur?
I of course know who he is, but I have never sketched
That's a
him.
ding for you. Good one there. Yeah, one of the biggest hockey players of all time in Canada.
Of course.
So, is it? I know this isn't me prying or anything like that. If my wife was here, she'd be asking this. Is this a money making thing? I mean, can you make money at it?
Well, I teach, so I don't necessarily.
So it's more of a hobby.
I teach sketching, so I do make money because
okay.
I teach sketching.
I didn't know that. I thought maybe you taught biology or something like that.
No. I'm a graphic designer by trade.
Okay.
So art related, and I've always drawn all my life. But I started sketching about 10 years ago, and then I started teaching as well. I started teaching sketching, and now I teach all over the world. I teach sketching all over the world, and I have online classes too.
What do you, by the way, my day job, I don't mean to sidetrack you a little bit here, but my day job is working for Streamline Publishing, which publishes Radio Ink magazine, which is a radio publication. But on the other side of the building, we have Plain Air magazine.
Oh, that's a big one. Eric Rhodes.
Oh, look at you.
Do
He's
I get
my
a
boss.
ding for that?
He's
really?
my boss. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
I listen to his podcasts. and-
Very nice.
Yeah,
Has he
has
ever
some-
had you on as a guest?
No, he
Well, I'm
hasn't.
going
Yeah,
to
'cause
tell
we
him
have to
that-
put in a good word.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
No,
Yeah.
but he's got some great events. He has Watercolor Live coming up, and he has
Yeah.
the plein air convention in Santa
What a
Fe.
small world.
So, yeah,
Have
of
you
course.
ever been to one of his conferences?
No, not yet.
Well, I'll
Not
try and see if I can
yet.
call the home
Yeah.
office and get you a little discount.
Oh, that would be great.
Very
That'd
nice.
be great. Yeah, he held great
Yeah,
events.
And
yeah.
he started out as a radio announcer and then just kind of grew into the art side of things. And, he has a place in the Adirondacks that he has a vacation house at the Adirondacks, and then he invites, painters
that's
to come
right.
up and they
Yes.
sit out in the
Yeah.
Adirondacks and they paint. Well, that's crazy. So,
Small world.
yeah, I'll give
no,
him a
I
call
do.
now.
I love his podcasts.
Aw-
Actually,
awesome.
they're great.
yeah. So I'm going to pull up some of your pictures.
Sure.
And then you're going to tell us what we're looking at. And we're just going to start with the first one that you sent me. So this one is talk about this one that you see there.
Well, that's it. That's at a place close to my house in Montreal called Angel Woods, and it's a really, really beautiful green space. And I walk there almost every day in the winter with my dog. And there's this stream that's really incredible. So what I do is I don't paint outdoors in the winter because it's too cold, but I often stop and take a quick photo, and then I come home, and while the image is fresh in my mind, I paint it. So
Now, how long did it take you to paint that one?
that's probably about an hour and a half.
Very cool.
And that's
All
in
right. So let's
watercolor.
look at this one.
This is one of my favorite places. Also close to my house in Montreal, it's a place called Techno Park Oiseau. So it's a bird sanctuary. It's one of the biggest wetland areas in Montreal, and it's kind of special because it's sort of an endangered area because there's a light rail line going up, and as they put up that light rail line, they're tunneling under it and putting stuff over it. And in the summer, what happened was because they were tunneling under it, a sinkhole developed and all the water drained out of the wetland. And so I was really glad that I had captured it before, but gradually the water's coming back.
And how long did it take you to paint that one?
Oh, that one was a longer one. That's a large size work. So that was about 3 hours.
Got it. All right. Now we'll go to number 3. We got 5 pictures to show off. Look at that one.
I love painting boats, and I live very close to the lake in Montreal, and that's the Point Claire Yacht Club. So I love the shape of boats in dry dock. In fact, I do a lot of painting around here. I go to San Carlos Island and I paint the
Cool.
shrimp boats. And
Now, how did you get connected with the Fort Myers Beach Art Association?
I think they saw that I come often to Sanibel in the winter, so they just contacted me and they said, if you're here this winter, can you come in and give us a demo?
Where do you stay on Sanibel?
We rent a house.
Very cool. All right.
A dog-friendly house.
Nice. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a yellow lab.
Oh, that's what we had.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah,
she
she's
passed
great.
away. Yeah,
Aw.
that's all right. She was 12, and I would have kept
Yeah.
her living until she was 20. But my wife said the legs are giving out. You probably want to
Yeah.
take a trip
it's
to
hard,
take a trip to the vet. And
Oh, that's the
so I took a
hardest
trip
thing.
to the vet, and that was the last trip we went on. But anyway, enough about me. Let's go to picture number 4.
So this summer, we were visiting our son who lives in Salt Lake City, and we took a little trip to Capitol Reef National Park, and we did some amazing hikes in Capitol Reef. And when I came home, I wanted to paint some of the scenes that I saw.
Wait, where did you say that was?
Utah.
What part of Utah?
That is Capitol Reef. It's one of the 5 national parks in Utah.
What part of
So
you?
that's southern Utah.
Yeah,
It's
like
sort
the
of in
city
between. So my son lives in Salt Lake City,
Mm-hmm.
and we drove straight down to Capitol Reef. So of the 5 national parks in Utah, that's the middle one.
Gotcha.
So there's Bryce and Zion to the west, and Arches and the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Canyonlands.
go out to Utah.
Yeah,
quite a
it's
bit,
pretty
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So
I
we
love hiking in the Utah mountains and the Red Rock and all
Oh,
that.
it's
So
gorgeous,
yeah, it's so
gorgeous.
pretty.
So
Yeah.
do we.
Yeah.
So do we.
So-
So we did this hike, and that's a really large painting.
You
That's
got
a
a
full
person
shoot.
in there.
That's my son.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, walking. There's actually a few people in there, but that
Did you
was sort
take
of.
a picture first? and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
went-
I did that from a picture because I couldn't carry it. My painting stuff is too heavy, and it was too hot in the summer. So
Yeah.
I did some quick small
It does
sketches.
get hot there. It doesn't get
Yeah.
as muggy as it does
No,
down here,
it's
but it
nice
gets
and
hot.
dry.
Yeah.
So I did that. I did that one at home.
And how long did that take you?
That was a long one. That probably took all day.
Now,
that's
again, if my wife was here, she'd ask you this because she's nosy. So how much do you think you can get? How much are you getting for that one?
Are you offering?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I
That-
fish with a
that one-
bobber.
That one's about 1,800.
Nice. Did you get it?
I haven't sold it.
So
I
you
haven't
only-
sold it.
So you only paint one. You don't paint like 15 of them and then.
No, but I do prints. I scan them, and I have
see.
I have a print shop. So, I
So
do
that
do
one's
prints.
available for 1,800.
Right.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
then we have one more, and I have to. There we go. Oh, did we sell that one already? That's a
No,
different
we
one.
didn't. We didn't. That's a good story. I love paintings with stories.
Yes, so do I.
So this was another boatyard near my house, and it was not too long ago when it was starting to get cold, and they had already taken the boats out and put them in dry dock. And I saw some. I was walking around. I wanted to sketch, and I saw some rubber boots behind a boat and this yellow rain slicker, and I thought that would be a great image. So I walked around and I started taking photos, and sometimes people get upset when you take photos of them. So anyway, this guy noticed me and he came walking over, and I thought he was mad at me because I was taking his picture. And then he said, "Oh, hello." And I realized it was a former colleague of mine who had
Crazy.
retired to sail his boats. So he was pressure washing all the zebra mussels off the boat. Do you have
Wow.
zebra mussels here? So
I don't know.
they're
Are they
sort of
fish? Is that kind of
it's
fish?
like an invasive mollusk.
We
that
got all
sticks
kinds
to
of
the-
invasive
yeah,
stuff
so
around
that,
here.
He was
so.
trying to get this. He had a pressure washer.
Is that a freshwater boat or was it in the
That's
saltwater or
freshwater.
freshwater? Yeah.
That's on the lake.
I see.
On the St.
So
Lawrence.
again, for the wife's purposes, because she might be watching later on today, what is
the
that going to
price
get you?
of that one about 800.
Nice. So
yeah, I was hoping that guy would buy it, but no,
but
he
he's a
didn't go for
cheapskate.
it. He didn't
So
go for
this one right here is the big dog, right?
it. Right.
Yeah.
That's the
so
biggest one.
what is all right? Again, what is like the most you've ever gotten for one of your beautiful pictures?
Probably about that.
Nice.
That's
where
the
do you
largest.
where do you sell them?
A lot of people buy them right off my website,
Yeah.
off Instagram. They
The judge
see
is
them.
here. I think he wants to take a look at the picture there. He might cut you a check right here for $1,800. So
that'd be great.
so
that'd be great.
do you show your art at different galleries?
I
and
do.
stuff?
I do. I'm part of some local art groups. I'm part of the Canadian Society of Painters in Watercolor. That's a Canadian Association of watercolor artists, and so we have shows. I also enter my shows in different local places, sometimes small galleries in Montreal, and often just off my website. People buy right off my website.
How competitive is the watercolorist business? Like, are there a lot of you?
There are a lot of us in Canada. It's and a lot in the States too. So there's a lot of associations in the U.S. But we're the big one in Canada.
What kind of products like your supplies are you coming out with when you're
I'm going out to paint on location?
Yeah.
Well, my smallest bag that I carry is a small little bag that has just a couple of brushes in it and a small sketchbook and a small travel palette. But when I go out to paint the big ones, I have a big easel. I have a portable easel.
Yeah.
So
and you don't get bored just sitting there painting or looking at stuff and painting or
never. I love it.
What's
I
it-
just love it. I mean, it's just beautiful to look at the world around you and figure out, what you're going to
It's a
capture.
crazy world around us now, though.
It
don't
is
you
a
think?
a crazy world, and COVID was very hard for artists because we couldn't get out and sketch. It was hard for my group of artists.
Why couldn't you get out? Because outside seems to be the safest place, or
Well,
nobody
we couldn't
knew
travel.
at the time.
We
I
couldn't
see.
travel, and we all love to like travel and be in crowded places and sit in places like this, and
Yeah.
we couldn't do that.
Not enough cool stuff in Canada. other
Lots
than,
of cool stuff
yeah.
in Canada.
What's the coolest thing you painted in Canada?
The coolest thing, I guess, the Rockies. We've been out west, and I've painted the Rockies, and that's pretty amazing.
Very nice. Now, how did
Yeah.
you learn how to paint like this?
Well,
came to you?
I've always one of those kids that always drew, and I started painting in watercolor. There was a guy in our neighborhood when I was in my teens, and he taught watercolor, so I started with that, and then I just kept on learning, and I'm still learning.
Again, for our Michigan audience, watercolor painting means what compared to like other kinds of painting?
Well, so it's water soluble.
All right.
So it means that you're working with water and with pigment and with brushes. So when you work with oil, for example, or acrylic, you put down a stroke on a canvas or on a paper and it stays there. Whereas watercolor, as it mixes on the paper, is
Sorry,
continuing to dry.
I'm not laughing at you. I watch the comments come
Yeah,
in as
yeah.
it's coming in live,
Yeah.
and sometimes somebody says the sound is off, and I think, oh crap, something's wrong with the sound, and then everybody else chimes in and says the sound is okay, so that means somebody's computer doesn't work, and then one, of course, Lance has to jump in and said the sound is good except Ed's microphone is working. So this is the kind of, you see, these are the kinds of people that we're dealing with sometimes.
Well,
They're
it's
never going to
great.
graduate to watercolor.
You have an audience. Which is
I'm afraid my
fantastic.
next guest is going to talk so far over their head that they're going to have to watch the show 4 or 5 times before they realize how smart he is. I'm saying the same about you because watercolor, like it's incredible, the artistic ability that you have. And the way I think of watercolor is it makes the brush easier to wash off because, right?
Right.
See?
That is
That's why I would like it.
Definitely an added
Because when
benefit.
you're at home and you're trying to paint the deck or something like that, you might as well just throw the brushes out. It's
Exactly,
ridiculous.
exactly.
But I didn't mean to interrupt. But the
That's
people
okay.
the people that are watching us sometimes can be annoying and they have to be put in their place. So go
That's
right
fine.
ahead.
That's your job.
So, but I am going to call Eric and I'm going to make sure that you're on. You know, he does that thing at noon. He does that
that I
live
don't
thing
know.
at noon on Facebook every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he has guests come on like this, but he does it. He uses StreamYard because I think he stole it from me. He didn't give me any credit for it, but you can pull people in from your home. Like you could be
Yeah,
painting and showing off things like that. But yeah, he does a live Facebook. I don't know how he does it every day. I've done them 3 days in a row now, and it's insane.
He doesn't stop. He's an energetic guy.
Yeah, and he's getting old, by the way. He's no young spring chicken. I know what you're saying there. But where were we when I interrupted
Well, I
you?
was saying I was telling you what watercolor was. Yeah. So that's anyway, that's what I love about it because it's always different and it's always surprising you.
Yeah. So again, about the watercolor. So if you're painting something and you make a mistake or you don't like it, you just brush it off with a tissue.
Sometimes, but some of the, I mean, I don't want to get too technical, but sometimes the paints stain the paper.
Listen, we talk about the water issue down here. My wife thinks she's the guru on the water issue, and she gets technical, and people's eyes are glazing over about the red tide and all that. So go ahead and get a little technical if you want.
Yeah, well, with watercolor, the white of the paper, you can never get it back. So you have to kind of figure out where you're going with it. So when I know there's areas that I want to leave white, like the sails on a boat, then I just leave them white. But I kind of have to plan where that's going to be.
Gotcha.
First.
What is it that you want to paint? Like, what are you on the edge of your seat wanting to go and paint somewhere? Is there a place you want to go or?
In the world or I'm here?
Yeah.
In the world? I love the Southwest, so I'm really excited because I'm going to be teaching in Santa Fe.
Oh, cool!
In May, and that's really exciting
And
because
for those in Michigan,
I love the light.
And for those in Michigan watching, that's in New Mexico, right? I pick on
That's
Ohio
right.
next week. Yeah,
that's right.
So,
and of course, I love Italy and France and Spain. And
Very nice.
I'm teaching in Greece next year.
Wow, so
that's going to be pretty gorgeous.
Very cool. So is it a class that you're teaching out there for how long? For a semester?
10 days. 10 days.
Nice.
Yeah. I do sort of travel workshops.
So you set that up online and you have people
I
sign up?
I work with organizers. I work with, it's complicated to do it myself. So I work with really good organizers who figure out where we're going to go.
Do you all fly over together on the same plane?
No, we usually meet there and we have a pretty good time. We have dinners and we sketch together all day.
Let's talk about tomorrow again and how people can get down there and see you in action.
They can look at the Fort Myers Beach Art Association website, and that will give you the address of where I'm going to be. And I'll be doing a 1-hour demo. I'll be doing the oil house from Sanibel. So I was out there yesterday painting it, and the oil house is that little house right below the lighthouse on Sanibel. So that's going to be my demo tomorrow.
I don't think I'm familiar with the oil house. I am familiar with the lighthouse.
It's a tiny little white building, and it's got a plaque on it. And
why not the whole lighthouse? It's just too much.
That hurts my neck.
I see. Too high.
Too high.
So okay, so that'll be tomorrow. And is there a cost for people to go, or
no?
is
It's free.
Oh,
and
very cool.
I think anybody can come.
And so, do you come down on vacation and you happen to hook up with Pam and the folks?
Yeah.
Very cool.
We started coming down about 5 years ago, and we just love it here. I love it because I can take my bike and my sketch stuff and just go up and down Sanibel and just
up and down Periwinkle there.
Yeah, and I love going to Ding Darling and sketching the
Oh,
birds.
my wife is going to be kicking herself. She loves Ding Darling.
So I just sketch along the way. I stop at every bird stop and I sketch.
You know,
the
I have an
birds.
idea. Next time you come down, I will rent a bicycle built for two.
Okay.
She can drive it.
Okay.
And you can ride in the back and just kind of take out
It's a
your
deal. It's a deal.
sketchy
It's a deal.
things, and she can do the bird hunting, bird watching thing, and that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We've had today's show is one that she's going to be horrified about missing because of the great guests we've had on today. So, did we miss anything about what you want to talk about,
no, I don't
what are you going to do
think.
today? What's going on your agenda?
Today I'll probably get on my bike and
Yeah.
go sketch something,
Do you
and then when I get back, I'll go sit on the beach and I'll sketch the people on the beach.
On
and-
Sanibel.
Yeah.
Now, do you tell them you're sketching them? Or?
No,
And they're fully clothed and everything,
They're-
right?
Yeah, they're mostly fully clothed.
Yeah, over on Sanibel, but they're kind of older too, right? I mean,
There's all ages
I
on
see.
Sanibel, and I just you're pretty far away from them,
Yeah.
so they don't see me. But you know what? If they do, I just
Yeah.
show them my book, and
Cool.
they usually
Maybe they
are
might wanna
happy
buy it.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
happy to be sketched. They take pictures.
what's your favorite place to eat over there?
We cook a lot, so my
Yeah.
favorite thing is to just buy some really good grouper. We don't get grouper much in Montreal, so
I see. No fish up there. They're
oh,
too
we have
cold to fish.
lots of fish. We have lots of fish, but not grouper.
Well,
I also like the shrimp from San Carlos.
I see.
I go right where the boats are and buy the shrimp.
well,
So
make a stop at the Island Cow if you have a chance.
Oh,
They
the
are
Island-
fabulous breakfast down
the
there.
Island Cow is
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
We've been there. Yeah.
We love that
Yeah,
place.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, good luck tomorrow, and thanks for coming down. Now, when do you know you're coming back?
Oh, I'll be back.
Same time every year, or
Yeah,
changes?
I'll be back next
Well, we'll have
year.
to have you on the show when
That'd be
the wife
great.
is here, and
That'd be great.
I'm gonna get the bicycle ready for you two, and then I'm gonna take pictures of as I'm driving in the car.
Thank you so much. This
No,
has
thank
been
you.
so much fun.
And I will get you the interview and send you
that'd
thing,
be
and
fantastic.
and call Eric and talk to him.
Okay.
If I see you on his show, it's gonna be super awesome because he is a
That would
good
be
guy.
great.
Yeah.
That would be great.
All right, everybody.
Thanks
Shari,
so
good luck
much.
tomorrow. And what's your website?
Oh, I have many websites. The ShariBlaukopf.com is my blog.
Okay.
Blaukopf Watercolors is my website with my watercolors.
Now I'm going to put her name up on the screen for anybody that
Yeah.
wants to make sure you spell it right, so you're not worrying about
right.
how to spell it. But go ahead. I didn't
And
interrupt.
my online classes are learn.shariblaukopf.com. So there's a lot of Blaukopfs in there. That's
Did I get it right there?
You got it right.
Super.
You got it right. So
Awesome.
yeah, you'll find me.
All right. Well, good luck tomorrow. It's 1
Thank
o'clock
you.
to 2 o'clock
1
at the
o'clock
Fort
to
Myers.
2 o'clock, and then there's a reception after with an exhibition. So I think there'll be a lot of things to see.
Awesome. Good luck, and thanks a lot for coming
Thanks.
by. All
Thanks
right,
so
Shari.
much, Ed.
All right. Before we have the judge on, we're going to tell you about the next Fort Myers Beach. Let's see, concert series that's coming up. The Friends of the Arts. I didn't want to mix it up with the Fort Myers Beach Art Association, but we have the AC-DC, the AC/DC tribute band is coming up December 9th at 7 o'clock. And that's at Salty Sam's. You're going to bring your family and your friends and enjoy your own reserved space. What they do is they box people into a square or a rectangle in case you're worried about the COVID. Even if you're not worried about the COVID, you have a nice little area where you don't have people bugging you and people that maybe have BO or something like that. You have your own little spot and you hang out in the box and you watch AC/DC, which is, an AC/DC tribute band. And last time they had Nightbird. That's a great way to kick it off. It's December 9th at 7 o'clock, and it's at Salty Sam's. You can go on the the Friends of the Fort Myers Beach Arts website, and I'm pretty sure it's fmbarts.org. My memory, everybody, I have a hard time remembering much, but I'm pretty sure it's fmbarts.org, and that's where you're going to go and buy your tickets. All right, one more ad before the judge and Shari are chatting things up, which is nice to see. I also wanted to tell you about the Fort Myers Tiki Tours. We can almost do this by memory. We want to make sure we get the phone number right. The Tiki Tours are out there. You see them all over in the Back Bay area. Again, they take off from Salty Sam's. right? They take off from Salty Sam's. 239-887-0042. Or you can go online at FortMyersTikiTours.com. A private boat for up to 4 people for $119.99. For up to 6 people for $179.99. And that's total per boat, people, not per person. 239-887-0042. Fort Myers Tiki Tours. All the tours are bring your own booze. So bring your own booze. They have the cooler, they have the ice, and they have the captain, and they have the Coast Guard. They're ready to save you if something happens. Of course, nothing ever happens. And yes, Salty Sam's Marina is where it all takes place. All righty. Having a great show today. I want to thank Bodie and Jennifer Rusk for coming down and hanging out at the beginning of the show. And Shari for coming on and showing us her pictures. And you can go and check out Shari in person tomorrow at the Fort Myers Beach Art Association from 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock. Otherwise, you can hang out in your skivvies over on Sanibel and look for somebody who's sketching out on Sanibel. All right, Judge, I'm going to have to interrupt you and invite you over to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, been waiting a long time. We've been trying to work this interview out. Judge Hugh Starnes is with us.
Just call me Hugh.
It's my honor to have your honor on the show. I always wanted to say that. And there's so much to talk about. But first, I wanted to ask you, have you been following this whole Rittenhouse situation?
Of course.
So with your experience, nice and close, I wanted to ask you what your opinion of the verdict was first.
Well, of course, I'm a former judge, and though I'm not a judge any longer, you always have some restraint about getting too much into either criticizing or praising or commenting on things that you didn't participate in yourself. So my first conclusion, I'll admit, for the portions of the evidence I heard, which was large portions of Kyle Rittenhouse and some of the others, and my inclination was he ought to be found guilty.
Guilty.
And I don't understand, and could be from ignorance on my part of the Wisconsin laws involved, but I don't understand the dismissal of the
gun charge.
When he's under 17.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some quirk in the statute or something apparently, so I'm not want to be too critical of it. I just don't understand it.
But what did you think of the prosecutor? And it seemed like the prosecutor was changing the way he was approaching the case, and he was, he showed a video that seemed like it was more clear, but provided the defense with some video that wasn't as clear, and it just seemed like there was some shenanigans going on there that he really only wanted to win. He didn't really want to get to the truth. What were your thoughts on the prosecution side?
I didn't hear enough of that
Gotcha.
From the prosecution side to comment on it.
Did you hear about the folks at NBC or MSNBC that followed the jury bus around? I mean, have you ever heard of anything like that?
No, but again, I read the brief squib about that they were stopped, and they claim they weren't photographing anything, but sometimes the press gets too carried away, and the jury should be off limits.
For sure. Now, the last question on that, it seemed like some people wanted to make race out of that particular case, but it was a white guy that shot 3 other white guys. And sometimes I think people just want to protest so they can say they protested something. It really wasn't about race. It was more about self-defense, and but others seem to want to get in the scrum and make a bigger case out of it when it comes to race.
I guess you have to say some people will take the context, which is Kenosha, and it doesn't have a very good context as far as racial issues in the past couple of years. A lot of controversial things there,
right?
Including the sheriff. I read some comments. I think he was from Kenosha, the sheriff of the county, off limits.
Yeah.
The comments.
So tell our audience a little bit about your history, about your, becoming a judge and how long you were a judge, and, fill us in on that.
I'm an anomaly. I was born in Fort Myers, raised here, came back to practice law, became a judge, and I was a judge 30 years full-time before I retired. And then in Florida, you can work as a senior judge, which means on an as-needed basis, you can come back in. And I'd work a couple of days a week. And then one day I saw the Milwaukee Bucks team making their statement about they were in the playoffs, and it was during the protest over George Floyd and what happened there. And they said very eloquently, being in the playoffs is a big deal, but it pales in insignificance to the issues of this death. And so we're not going to do the playoff. And I was sitting at home watching it. I wasn't working that day. And I said, damn, I'm with them. And I only have one choice. Even as a senior judge, you're bound by judicial ethics not to speak out on controversial public issues, because you could have a case that's tangential and it would eliminate you. So I said, I only have one choice. I have to resign that position so I can get involved in racial justice.
Why did you want to get involved in racial justice?
The original thing there was George Floyd.
Okay.
But I mean, there have been increasingly over the years. I mean, it goes beyond George Floyd, because it was George Floyd plus all the other shootings of black men, many of whom turned out to be unarmed by police. Too many of those, my experience as a judge for 42 years was that many of these were encounters which should not have involved a death.
So, okay.
And that was very upsetting to me as a judge.
Was just a quick question from our audience. Was your position elected or appointed?
Well, both.
Okay.
I was originally appointed by Governor Askew to a vacancy on the court, and then it is an elected position.
Once you're appointed, you have to run for an election. And then once you're elected for life? Or
no,
you have to keep running?
6-year term.
I see.
But I never had any, I always qualified. Nobody ever ran against me.
A lot of that happens with judges, right? Not just in Lee County, but the judges seem to run unopposed.
I mean, having judges elected is not really a good idea.
Is that right?
I mean, you should have whatever process you have. You should have people that are knowledgeable about the justice system and separated from the judge and politics. And then have that, I guess, reviewed by the governor and then appointed or something. But just there are too many potential issues that judges that maybe are a little on the margin could respond to, as far as public opinion and the desire to be reelected.
Got it.
It's not a good process.
Got it. Now, what is your opinion on, being that we're talking about the crime and things like that? What is your opinion on the sheriff in Lee County? Doing a good job?
I'm not sure the nexus of your question.
No, I was just wondering.
He's sheriff. You'd have to tell me some incident.
No, I don't think there are any, but he's really tough on crime, and he's constantly talking about. He seems like a sheriff that is, don't come to our county if you think you're going to commit a crime. He's a tough sheriff, and is that something that you think is a good thing to have out in the public all the time? Somebody. It makes the community feel safe.
People in any public office that talk tough like that, my first reaction is I'm put off by it, because that's an appeal to the general population, separate from any specific incident. And that's the type of political stuff that is why I say electing a judge is not good. You don't want to have judge up. Do you know we had a judge in Lee County? This is part of the embarrassing history that I was practicing, and I well remembered at the time. The Supreme Court had at that time, under the current provisions of capital punishment, had abolished it temporarily under the way it was done. And this judge went out, Lamar Rose, threw a rope with a noose on the end over the limb of the oak tree in front of the courthouse.
What year was
And
this?
I think it was 82. I'm not
That's
sure.
insane. And he got
And-
caught doing it. It was definitely him.
Oh, it's not a question of getting caught. He let
Wow.
it be known what he was going to do.
Did he lose
He
his?
encouraged the media to come, and the news press put a front page,
Wow.
and it shows a picture of him throwing the noose over, and he made some comment like maybe we should go back to public hangings. Now, I don't think too many white people probably feared
No.
that comment. The black people,
For sure.
that was a code word.
Yeah. Did he lose his? I mean, how do you get a judge off the bench?
You know, that was a different time. Politics were more conservative even than some of the Republican
Yeah.
parties now. And nobody made any, of course, he was a sitting judge. Most people were afraid. I'll say one thing. I've never said this to anybody before, but he had an old house he was renovating on Upper Captiva, and he had this guy of some age and modest means that did the remodeling, and when it came time to pay, he stiffed him. And the guy went to a number of lawyers and couldn't get anybody to represent
For sure.
him.
They don't want
He
to.
wound up in my office. I agreed to represent him. I took it to court. We won the case. The man won his case. I got him the money. This is the part I've never said to anybody. A month or so after, I took a routine order to the judge in a probate case, uncontested. He would not sign it. So I said, turned around and walked out. That was contrary to the practices. I waited because his term was about up and he was going to retire. And then I took it to the new judge, and of course it was signed that way. So character can surface, character or lack thereof can surface. I've never said that because I never wanted to exploit that out of hand, but you say it in this context, and I feel it's time that I relate that. So this is the same judge that threw the noose over the
Crazy. Well, I mean, it's politics are involved in everything, whether people want to believe it or not. They sure are. And
policy
yeah,
involved in everything.
Yeah.
That's the way I'd rather put
okay.
it. And there's good policy and bad policy, and politics leads to too much controversy.
Now, I'm not a cancel culture kind of person. I don't think everybody should be canceled after one mistake, or I just don't. I'm not part of that. But the thing with the Robert E. Lee picture even bugs me because, I mean, whether you like it or not, we do have, and I like all of the county representatives. I'm friends with them. I've talked to them. We've had them all on our show. What you got 5 white guys sitting on the county board with a picture of Robert E. Lee there, and everybody that understands even a little bit of the history understands that it's just the bad optics. What is the problem with that? How come that picture can't come down? Why hasn't that picture come down?
I'm a part of this group called Southwest Florida Voices for Racial Justice. Jim Nathan, who's shared with me and Audrey Anderson the formation of the group, have in numerous times asked, move that thing now. If not now, when? Get that thing out of there. I guess the best optic, I have 2 forms of the same optic. We're having the redistricting hearing and hearings, and the main issue is how Dunbar is being treated in their maps. So we had up there at one time Audrey Anderson, a very tall, stately, handsome woman, good-looking woman, very high up in the educational world, very, of course, articulate. She's administratively involved with FGCU, just a wonderful, knowledgeable person. She's standing up to make her position in the 3 minutes they have. And somebody snapped a picture from the audience, and it shows her in the back of her head and Robert E. Lee in the background. And she's commented on that. That's terrible. what's almost worse is at another hearing later, I was sitting in the audience and remembering that, and I glanced up while an African American was making their talk, and I saw Robert E. Lee, and then I saw, but they also have the flag there, which we knew.
Mhm.
Guess what? The flag is partially hidden behind the dais where the commissioners sit on one side. Just to the side of it, lifted higher on the wall, much more visible, is Robert E. Lee. So he dwarfs the flag that they ask us to pledge allegiance to under our Constitution. And how, now, I don't think every one of them feels that way.
What do you mean feels it? Oh, you mean feels that
about-
it should be there?
Right.
Right. You're
But
okay.
But at least a majority of them, or the
Eh,
chair himself, is unwilling to take that on or do anything. I cannot understand it.
Has
No
there
matter
been
how they may feel about anything else, there is no excuse for that in the 21st century.
It just doesn't even seem like there's a downside to taking the picture down.
They don't have to make a big deal. All they have to do is take it
Right.
down and
Put a
put
big-
it somewhere
or
else.
put a big American flag right up on the wall behind you. I think you can't go wrong with that either. Has there been a serious effort to try and remove it, or has it just
Oh,
been people
yes,
chatting
there-
for 3 minutes at the
oh.
meetings?
Well, of course, people coming to a meeting, public meeting, and numerous ones of them mentioning that is a pretty big deal, I
Yeah.
think. City of Fort Myers, they had a bust of him downtown. They took down him riding on a horse or something all over the nation, even in very conservative, deep South
Yeah.
places. They're doing this, and I just it's beyond me. There is no logical or decent explanation for why they would do that. It is wrong.
And the YouTube video of the meetings, the picture of Robert E. Lee, and I don't mean to laugh, but it's always there. It's
the
one
most-
thing that's always there. He's a constant speaker because he's in the perfect spot.
See, I'm getting worked up now. Where they sit is the old courthouse,
Mhm.
and it used to be called Courtroom B. And I sat in Courtroom B and tried many serious felony and civil cases, and it was on the wall as you face the dais to the left. That's where the bench was, and the judge was sitting up there. And I hold that courtroom in special regard because to me, it was the essence of justice that I tried hard to dispense
Mhm.
in a fair, neutral way. And they're trashing that. But there's one other thing. Guess what happened when they, now this isn't their fault, but guess what happened when they did the remodeling to make that? There was on the story above it, the old law library off
Okay.
of one of the judge's offices. And when they dismantled it, they found the architectural remains or skeleton of the colored balcony. And right now, there's a balcony up there, and I think that's pretty much restoring the colored balcony. And again, I'm not attributing anybody saying they did that for bad reasons. In a way, it's a good thing for people to look up and say, there was a time when the
Mhm.
black people could not sit down with the others.
Mhm.
They had to go up some winding stairs and sit in a balcony separate. That's To Kill a Mockingbird.
Mhm.
And some of those old court cases that from days gone by, the same thing occurred and are written about.
So let's talk about before we get to the specifics of the redistricting, let's talk about the 5 county board members. You don't believe any of those 5 board members are racist, do you?
Frank Mann is not. I know him personally and have known him since we were kids. I'm inclined to believe that Brian Hammond, certainly he is in the right place because he proposed the compromised new district that addressed the Dunbar issue. So I'd say no to him. The other 3, I don't know any of them personally,
Okay.
but I would have to say their actions in denying any reasonable change to the Dunbar district.
But
Is indefensible the way they.
but that might be there might be different reasons for them not to want to go with those that map, Brian's map, that I want to talk to you about. But I mean, I've had many conversations with them, never got a hint of anything that seemed like it would be, sometimes when people are in private conversations at you, they'll say stupid ass things or stuff where there's some kind of problem. Never heard any of the three of them.
I did not answer your question.
I know. But I also felt like I wanted to make it clear that I've never experienced that with any of the five of them. Racism. But I think they feel like because they're being criticized for the map, that they're being called that, and I that could be. I mean, that's the worst thing you can call somebody.
I don't like the word racist personally. I would, if you're going to interject that in the issue, I think a better discussion pattern is: do you have any prejudice of any nature, racial, or anything else? What they are doing is dissing the people of Dunbar.
Okay,
absolutely.
Let's talk about.
So I'll let their actions speak for themselves,
and people can
Everybody
decide.
Can make their own conclusion.
So let's just kind of back up a little bit. What happened 10 years ago? The redistricting has to be done every 10 years, everywhere
after the census.
After the census, and what happened 10 years ago was somehow the community, even though it's not called a city, it's understood in Fort Myers that Dunbar is a community.
It's a community, and it's within the city of Fort Myers.
Right, and it's mostly made up, I believe, of minorities,
African Americans primarily.
And somehow the census 10 years ago, some kind of shenanigans went on 10 years ago where that community got separated.
Yeah, not the census, the redistricting.
Right. And so somehow now it's part of there's two districts now made up of what would be the community of Dunbar, correct? Is that kind of in a nutshell?
No.
Okay, you correct me then, because I want to get it straight.
The predominant issue, I would say no. 2011, at the last minute, now I wasn't there, I wasn't involved in redistricting, but from reliable reports, at the last minute, somebody added a map that included traditional Dunbar with a little less of the city of Fort Myers part extending beyond it, which could be still diverse. And they crossed the mile-wide Caloosahatchee River boundary and included a great deal of North Fort Myers and I think some of Cape Coral. And it just obviously, there's no other way you can put it. Whoever would make a map like that, first, it's pure gerrymandering. Second, it clearly dilutes the Dunbar voting power for their community by bringing out something that tips the scales away from black voters.
How do you figure that? Because everybody can still vote.
Demographically. For this district.
But it's an at-large county.
That's what I'm leading up to.
Okay.
First, I'll say at-large county voting under certain circumstances have been declared illegal by the federal court system, depending on the motives, the history, and the degree of transgression in setting up a district. And it's for this reason. Lee County is 70% white, 30% minority, just generally speaking. That's in all the demographics. So as long as you have an at-large election, what chance? What fair chance?
Right. Very little. And especially when you factor in the Republican machine, it's a whole layer of that.
I won't get into that part of the politics, but what fair chance does a minority candidate have to win at large? So that's why it's so important now, because they're setting up a district that will last for 10 years, unless some court turns it down, which I think is going to be in the offing.
What do you really think there's going to be a successful court case, being that they didn't really change much, and it was approved 10 years ago? So
well, let's put it this way: two wrongs don't make a right.
Okay.
I mean, if it was wrong, 10 years ago. It was wrong, I don't think it did. If it was wrong but not challenged, that doesn't mean that it's okay to do it now, particularly in the past 10 years, polarization of society and suppression of minority votes has become a tremendously large issue.
Why don't you think the minority community has been able to find a candidate to run at large that could get, that could be a serious contender for a county seat?
Why don't you run?
Well, I have a podcast to do.
I don't know why
But,
I said that. That was stupid.
But why don't you run?
No, here is the answer. Who could first develop the degree of white crossover, progressive whites? Certainly there are plenty of white voters, but within that 70% majority, you have to figure there's a lot of connections politically and economically, so that it's easier for a candidate to get them on their side and win an election. It's less easy for a black candidate to do. My choice would be somebody who maybe could have done it, but under the 70-30, I just don't know. Larry Hart, former police chief of the city of Fort Myers and former tax collector, retired. I think he's moved away, but he's the type of person, he's been elected to in some at-large.
But let me challenge what
but-
you said about the 70-30. If you have somebody that inspires somebody, they're going to win an election. I mean,
Look at Obama.
look at Byron Donalds. I mean, and I don't want to make it sound like it has to be a black person, but I mean, that's really what we're talking about here, because it's a 70% a white community.
Well, let's put it this way then. You say, why is it so hard? I have a sheet that I wrote out and I gave them of the history of treatment of black people in Lee County. One episode was Judge Lamar Rose. Another was the first African American to come and live in 1867 was Nelson Tillis. He was probably a freed slave, and he built a place on the Caloosahatchee right around where Edison. He was a carpenter and a fisherman. Hardly anybody in Lee County then, but more white settlers started moving in, and within a couple of years, these white settlers came over and told Nelson Tillis, you can't live there. You must move over here. And of course, he was hugely outnumbered, and times back then, there was not much law enforcement. So he acceded to their request, and he moved over to what is now Safety Hill. So from the beginning, Safety Hill was separated politically and demographically, well, not demographically, separated demographically and by justice from the rest of the community. And you follow through, there were lynchings in 1925, 2 young black males, no trial, they just, the night somebody made a report, which was denied by some of the teenagers and their friends involved, and they came and arrested them out of the jail and hung them and drugged them down the street. And it was much more than that. And when school segregation came in the 50s and 60s, our school board delayed for like 10 years doing anything significant on racial integration. And in fact, at one time they had a plan. We'll do 1 grade at a time, starting with the first grade.
Right.
So guess what? That would take 12 years
Right.
to fully do with all deliberate speed. So right on up.
But that was a nationwide problem too, after the Supreme Court ruling that.
What does that have to do with anything?
That's true. I mean, I guess if you want to be aggressive on it, you don't need to go that slow. You could do it all at once and see how that works. I get you. So, but but
you say a nationwide problem. What does that have to do with that people elsewhere were doing the same thing? It was wrong.
You're right. I agree with you. It definitely was wrong.
Okay.
So let's talk again back to the redistricting part of it. because Brian Hammond's map seemed to almost split the board, not in the favor of his map, but Frank Mann made an impassioned speech about feeling like the county's going to get sued, and there's no reason not to go with that map. And Brian went back to the drawing board. I mean, basically behind the staff's back, who drew up 7 maps or 6 or 7 maps.
He used his staff.
Yeah. Well, the county staff came up with the first slew of maps.
Right.
And then Brian said, this doesn't work. I'm going to make my own map.
Right.
And him and his staff went back. And somehow, putting all the 8 criteria together, Brian came up with something close that brought, everybody keeps saying, brought Dunbar home and
Right.
put Dunbar in one district. And then it looked like, again, I'm a novice at this whole redistricting thing, but it looked like Cecil's map, Cecil's section was the section that got, this is the wrong word, but got screwed in Brian's map, and there was no room for growth there. And I could be reading it wrong, but as I looked at it, trying to understand it from the way it is now and the way Brian's map came out, it looked like Cecil's district was pretty much landlocked. And Kevin Ruane his biggest issue was about the growth, the population growth, or being able to grow, and that was the reason why he didn't go with the map. He said that the other day too.
Have you heard anybody say that there was a dangerously large, for Cecil Pendergrass, minority group in his
No,
district?
I didn't. Never heard that.
Okay.
Did somebody say
Then-
that at a meeting that I missed?
No, that's
I
what
see.
I'm saying. If that was a reason to object to it, why didn't somebody say this isn't fair? This would really inhibit a white person getting in that district, and we've just done a good job on the one district, and we shouldn't change the other one. I mean, I assume maybe that's the argument.
I don't know. I
trying to
still
be
don't
made, but-
understand. I still don't understand. I don't understand why they didn't go with Brian's map.
My
I thought it looked fine.
I did too, and I supported it, and my group did. But the other maps, they're all maps that include the other districts, don't have any really substantial majority.
Oh, you're right.
position.
Right.
So the one he's got now doesn't. Plus, I think I think the law provides there are 2 things very certainly you can't do. One is to create a map that dilutes a minority group
Mhm.
intentionally or unintentionally. The second thing is you also can't do anything that creates a map that's in your own electoral interest.
Right.
That's illegal.
Right. Well, it's
And
going to
so-
be, but
and
it's hard
he
to know
was
what their
making-
intent is.
He was
Who's he? Which one?
Cecil Pendergrass.
He was making
Because
what?
You brought his name up,
Right.
and
He's my
during-
representative in Gateway.
to the extent that I could hear them, they're talking among themselves in the decision making. His audio doesn't come across real good. He was saying something about votes and numbers of votes or something. I mean, it sounded from his standpoint dangerously close for him.
I
to
don't
talking about what his self-interest in getting elected would be.
know.
And those 2 things, the diluting a minority population deliberately or intentionally, and or doing something that seeks your own
Right.
electoral
But I
interest.
want to give my point of view on that, because I did watch the meeting, and I don't think they diluted anything because they didn't change anything. So they just left it the way it was. Now, somebody diluted it 10 years ago, and it wasn't these guys, but Frank Mann was there, and I know he voted against it. And the other thing was, I think that Cecil has tried to repeatedly say, with the attorney's help, that the voting is still the at-large voting. It doesn't really matter what you do with the map right now because it's still at large. Which means anybody can run and everybody gets to vote. There are 2 seats up next year, and that's Brian's seat and Cecil's seat.
Yeah.
And
You see-
everybody in the county gets to vote. So right now, the redistricting doesn't really mean that much.
I'm going to make a cheap shot there.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, as long as it's at-large voting in the 70-30 breakdown, I'm fine with that. That's what they're saying.
Well, I feel like the better bet is you vote in your district. Now, I know that's a charter
agree.
change. I say vote in your district. I mean, that means you have to work your district and you only get to vote for the person that's running in your district. I think that's a great idea.
You know, there are legitimate arguments from the past, places like Chicago and New York City, where you have a machine in the district
Mhm.
and maybe mobs involved or something, and that can be bad. But nobody's argued there's anything like that going here. It's purely the demographics of who's going to get elected. And again, no black person has ever been elected in Lee County. Melvin Morgan was appointed by the governor.
Oh, he was appointed. Okay.
She was.
Sorry, she was.
Melvin Morgan was appointed by the governor, and she was, by all accounts that I knew of, everybody felt she did a good job and she was a great commissioner.
Did she run again?
She ran
Okay.
again. She comfortably won the district where she lived.
Okay.
She lost the overall election.
Oh, I see.
So
I see.
You talk about the
yeah.
danger of going to court. You talk about that history, moving all the blacks to Safety Hill, lynchings, resisting integration, and then they come up and if it's challenged and somebody says we had no ill intent, the courts are not going to look at that. What I've just told you, these past histories, what I call an embarrassing past history as to how black people have been treated here, can be taken into account. And there is one specific case where they overruled or declared illegal, I believe, at-large voting because of such a past history,
Yeah.
and that it was in effect being used to not allow a minority to have a chance.
Well, I listened to the attorney explain how it would be to change at-large voting to district voting, and it's like climbing mountains. I mean, there's a commission that has to be set up, and they have to come up with certain points that you bring back to the board, and it seemed like, oh, wow, I mean, they've certainly made this hard.
This is harsh, but I'm going to say what the attorney said was wrong and improvident to say.
Why?
No member of the commission said, will you now give us an opinion on at-large voting or something, which they could have done. He interjected and he said essentially the following: look, this thing about gerrymandering or diluting, it really doesn't matter because there's at-large voting. You could not choose better words that presented to a federal court with a high degree, I can't say a high degree of probability, with a high degree of concern that the court would say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That is blatantly.
I don't know I don't know anything about the courts and the lawyers and all that stuff, but the NAACP map was gerrymandering.
Well, let me ask you
that was
something,
total
Ed.
gerrymandering.
Just a minute. Your last statement, you don't know anything. Does it sound fair to you to continue at-large voting when there is no minority district? And the first time one seems to come up in the past 10 years, it's voted down.
I guess the way I look at it is a little different. I think that having 5 white guys, and I'm a white guy, obviously, 5 white guys on any kind of board or commission there's no. I don't go. And they won the election, so fair is fair. But if the way is it unfair? No, I don't think it's unfair. If somebody was a strong candidate, they would win. So part of it is like you got to come up with a strong candidate that will motivate people, and I don't think the color matters or the background of the person matters. And so there's got to be some skin in the game to say somebody hasn't come up with a strong candidate. But I also know I am also not naive enough to know.
Melvin Morgan, would you not call her a strong candidate?
I wasn't around. I didn't live here then. I've taken your word for it.
She was a sitting county commissioner.
Yeah, I take your word for it for sure.
And she did run.
Yeah.
And she won her district, and she lost.
That's the other part of what I wanted to mention. And somebody was questioning me before about the machine. This is when you get into the politics of the Republican in this county, and I'm a Republican, so I'm not complaining about it, but it is what it is. You got to wait your turn, pay your dues, and then once they're behind you, you're gonna crush everybody else, and that's just the way it is in this county, and I'm sure it's that way in other Democratic counties too, where the majority of the people are Democrats or they they control things, but the Republican machine controls who runs here, and so is that fair or unfair? No, that's just the way it is. That's the way of the world. But I also think that it would be fairer or better if districts were not at large, if the county was not at large. If you had a district and you had a chance to have 3 people to be debating each other in that district, and you could only vote for those 3 people, that's the right way to do it, I think. But what do I know?
I agree with you. The other symbolism thing I would say, how about I fight you and I'll tie one hand behind your back? That's kind of what at-large voting is doing for minority candidates right now.
Yeah. I mean,
now I'm looking at your biceps. I'm not going to fight you.
No, I don't know if the people in Dunbar or the minority community is not getting their issues addressed. That's wrong. And I don't know I'm not deep in the weeds that way. That's serious stuff right there. And I don't know if they are or not. Like, I feel like Brian's in that district, the Dunbar's in his district. People love Brian, right? I mean, so isn't the district being represented well right now, even though he's a white guy?
I don't think that's Brian's district right now.
Well,
I thought it was Cecil Pendergrass.
I thought he said something at the meeting like I'm going to be a representative and with this new map and call me anytime.
Well,
but I think anybody would answer the phone.
Yeah, I was there. I heard him say that.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding of the nature of his comments was we've had a lot of controversy.
Mm-hmm.
3-2 vote, very vigorous debate. Regardless of any debate or hard feelings, I am a county commissioner for the whole county, elected, and I will do my best to see that the needs of anybody in any district are taken care of.
Right.
But I mean, again, that's against the backdrop 70-20 in an existing power structure.
So what's the next step here? What do you think was going to happen? And
the NAACP has talked like they're going to have lawyers file a suit. I'm with a group that we're concerned enough and serious about this, particularly for the long range. It's a 10-year thing that will last, that we're considering what we could or should do.
Why not forget about the lawsuits and try and change the charter so that there's district voting instead of at large? That seemed like that would be the best result to me.
No, you touched on the reason for that when you said they described getting it changed, advisory committees and all. And they were talking at one point that I heard in the discussion about one time period was like 18 months to get from one point to even where you can get a proposal for one.
That's better than 10 years. And how long would it take in court? It would take a lot more years in court, right?
Depends on.
And if
we depends on how strong the case is.
Well, if
and there's such a thing as a temporary injunction. I don't know whether that could apply in this, but again, anytime in an argument like this, somebody throws back, well, this may be unjust, but there are other ways eventually you can get it done. When the history of the county is, it's never gotten done before. And I have one foible, maybe because I was small town and I grew up and sensed the feelings of underdogs. Whenever I sense an injustice right here in my heart, I cannot sit down.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot shut up. I'm going to do whatever I can to try to right that justice, whether I'm a lawyer or a judge or a member of the community, to work with others, because I can never countenance an injustice going on and me sitting on the sidelines.
Well, you get up there at those county meetings and you use your 3 minutes and you don't hold anything back. I mean,
there's no reason to hold anything back.
Are you friends with the county board members? Do you chat with them?
The only one I really know personally is Frank Mann.
Yeah.
He and his brother Pat. Pat Mann was in my class in high school. We were classmates. Frank was either I think 1 year behind, 1 or 2. And so I've known him my whole life. And Pat supported Brian Donald.
How can people get involved you mentioned a couple of organizations. If people want to get involved and be part of what you're doing, how can they do that?
Okay, well, one group is League of Women Voters.
Okay.
They're a staunch member of this. There's a Lee County Black Caucus, Progressive Women of Lee County. Those are some of the groups, or they can contact me or Jim Nathan, former CEO of Lee County Health System and now at FGCU, Audrey Anderson.
Okay.
Maddie Stewart. If they ask around, they'll find how to get to us.
Great. So before I let you go, Judge, what is the craziest case you ever sat in front of?
I'm going to rephrase your question.
All right, good.
You're saying what's the most unusual
Yeah,
case
all right.
I ever sat? That's easy. State versus Juanita Maxwell. Black defendant, probably in her 40s or 50s. She worked as a maid at a downtown hotel, the Royal Palm Motel in Fort Myers. She, in an argument with one of the long-term tenants there, got angry. They got in a shouting match. She took a lamp, hit the lady over the head, and it killed her.
Wow.
There was a murder case filed. It was tried without a jury by agreement of both counsel before me as the judge. In between the arrest and the trial, it was determined through some psychological evaluation she had a mental health issue. She actually broke down sobbing and slid down on the floor in a hearing before me, and that's what triggered it, and the attorney requested and I referred her. And so I'll tell you what they found. They suggested an insanity defense was appropriate. And at trial, the defense brought in the psychologist who had treated her and had gone through hypnosis. And he asked permission. Everybody was quiet. Sitting there in a packed courtroom.
No way.
First case in Lee County that there was national courtroom cameras.
Wow.
First one. And he said, ask Juanita a couple of preliminary questions. And then he said, Juanita, can I speak to Wanda? And Juanita Maxwell, who was a maid, poorly educated, severely abused as a child. Her mother prostituted her to men constantly. She sat back a minute and she said, get me some marijuana. Where can I get some weed? I mean,
I don't mean to laugh, but that was pretty good acting.
Well, you say acting. The best.
Wow.
Meryl Streep could not do a better job of acting if that's what it was.
Wow.
I was there. I watched it. I've seen her in all the preliminary hearings, and it was not acting, in my opinion. So long story short, it was still argued. It went before me. It was such a volatile case that I said, I'm going to make a ruling today. I'm going to retire for a half hour. I'll compose my thoughts, make a ruling, jot down, and I'll come back and rule. And I ruled that she was not guilty by way of insanity.
Wow.
And she was, of course, what you do then is you refer them to the state health system, and they are involuntarily committed until it's determined they could be released. Eventually, she got to that point. She had one setback, but she got to that point release. There's never been any other problems from her.
So when you guys, when the judges, not just guys, but when the judges go in the back room there, and like you said, you're going to take a half hour, you get in the back, you're whipping the robe off, you're putting your feet up on the desk, because when you're out in the courtroom, you're above everybody and you got the robes on and everybody stands up. And is it in the back room? Is it a whole different situation where you're relaxing? And dumb question, probably.
You just retire. Either you go up to your regular office if it's an extended break, and you have your books available and stuff and your computer, or there's a judge's room in the back. But the judges don't go back there and sit and talk during any trial.
No. And
But
so,
as an individual judge, you get to have a bit of relaxation to
yeah,
get your thoughts together, challenge yourself. Is the way I'm going right or wrong,
right.
and argue.
Yeah,
against
got somebody's
yourself,
life in your hands.
jot notes down, and
Go from there. So, last question, I know it's public, but what does a judge make in Lee County? I mean, what are the salaries?
you know what? I don't know. At the current time, I think I know about what it is, but I started off at $38,000 a year.
Wow,
That was in 1978.
probably way more than that now.
It got up to
40,
the time I
45.
retired, something like 120,
Yeah,
then 140, and I think it may be 160. But I haven't been on that pay scale in a long time, so I have to tell you the truth. I didn't pay any. I was doing the senior judge job at way less than that even.
I see.
They get a real bargain with that, but because I'm committed, it's been a lifelong career. I'm committed to trying to be a good, fair judge, and that's a way to give back some.
You watch
to be a
Judge
senior
Judy
judge.
at all? Is that or not?
I've seen her before. She's everything you don't want in a judge.
Oh, I see. That's
completely opinionated.
That's a complete.
And
yeah, for TV.
she's gotten it put to her recently.
Oh, I see. I haven't been following that. I have to look that up.
I don't follow her, but there was something that she got dressed down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, Judge, thank you so much for all your time and coming down. And we'll see you at the
my
next
pleasure.
county meeting, I'm sure, if something's going on, or do you go to every one?
No, I don't
Okay.
go to every single one.
When the
but if
issues
it
come up,
involves
though.
redistricting,
Gotcha.
I may be there. The next one is kind of pro forma. They
Right.
say,
Just going to
"We're
sign the
sending
dotted
this off
line.
to the state."
All right. Well, hope to stay informed on how things are going, and we'll
Okay.
see you soon again. And thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Appreciate
Judge Hugh
it.
Starnes, everybody, and keep an eye out for what's going on. And we will list all that information that the judge mentioned, the different organizations that you can get in touch with him and with those groups. By the way, I did want to wait till after I read this. I did want to clarify one thing that I mentioned earlier. But I do want to tell you about the Beach Pottery, because we love the Beach Pottery, and they're located on San Carlos Boulevard. Not quite on the beach, but just a little bit ways down, 17980 San Carlos Boulevard. They have lots of pots. I mean, millions and millions of pots from all over the world, all over the Vietnam and all over the Mexico. 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 pots. And, they have key lime pie. You don't need to put the key lime pie in the pots, but you can eat the key lime pie while you're shopping around for pots. They also have outdoor furniture. They have all kinds of custom design thingamajigs that you can have carved out for you, and you can hang it up at your house. You can put it in your backyard. You could sleep with it in your bed when your wife's not around. I mean, anything that you want to do with the stuff at Beach Pottery. All you need to do is go down and see Alana at Beach Pottery, or you can call and say, "I'm on my way, Alana." 437-4211 is the number, 437-4211. And of course, our brand new sponsor, although they're not very brand new anymore, they are the Fort Myers Beach, the Farmers Market. The Farmers Market, which is held every Wednesday and Friday at the Beach Baptist, is our newest sponsor, and it's going on right now and through May the 27th. And they have all kinds of different vendors there every single day that they're out there, Wednesday and Friday. And Linda sent me a brand new vendor that I want to make sure I mention. She sent it early this morning, and I don't want to mess that up. It's they have Hooked Up Fish Market at the Fort Myers Beach Markets at the Beach Baptist. And it's featuring a wide selection of Gulf and other fishes, Key West pink shrimp and Argentine red shrimp, mussels, clams, oysters, and more. And that's just one of the many booths that you can see at the Beach Baptist Farmers Market every Wednesday and Friday. It's the Hooked Up Fish Market. And, of course, they have Dudley's Beachside Barbecue and Suncoast Coffee, which benefits the church mission, and Love Muffins. I just love saying Love Muffins, Terry, especially when you're walking around here. I love to say Love Muffins. Have you ever had a Love Muffin? Would you like me to buy you a Love Muffin? If I buy you a Love Muffin from the Beach Baptist Farmers Market, I'll say, here's a Love Muffin for my Love Muffin. Isn't that special? Yeah, the Farmers Market is every Wednesday and Friday from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And make sure you run into Linda. Don't knock her down, but if you run into Linda, say hello and say you heard it on the show. And I want to love Muffin, damn it. I want to love Muffin. I did want to clarify one thing from earlier. I don't think that 5 county board members are racist in any way. And I don't want anything that I said earlier to give anybody the impression of that. I thought Brian did a great job with this map, and I didn't understand why that map. I still don't understand why that map. But they have their reasons, and it is what it is, and the redistricting is done. But I do believe that they should have to vote, like they should have to run in their own district, because I think that makes it more competitive. That's what the word I was trying to look for earlier. If you could only vote for the person that lives in your district, you have a chance, I think, of having more of a competition because there's fewer people that vote. But like I said before, what do I know? It's the way it is. It's the way it's set up now. All right, everybody, I want to say thank you to all our guests. I didn't expect to run for an hour and a half today because, without Kim here hogging up all the airtime, I figured I'd be done by 10 o'clock and on my way back to the dogs at the house. But Judge Starnes ran a little over, and I'm so fascinated by the whole court stuff and his background and what's going on with the redistricting in Lee County. But we'll be back next week. I think it's Thanksgiving weekend, so if we don't see you next weekend, or even if we do see you, have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.